This video is an introduction to the Apple Classroom app that is on all of the iPads that we have for the elementary levels that are able to have it on. So if you don't have an iPad that's part of Apple Classroom, it's because that iPad is too old. It doesn't have the right iOS level in order to be put on it. So every iPad that we have that can be put on it is on it. So we're going to open up Apple Classroom and kind of give you a quick overview of how this looks and what it does for you. Apple Classroom is really designed to be a teaching assistant for you to help you kind of manage the flow of your classroom, help keep your students engaged and on task, and just kind of really kind of help keep things going when you're doing your Apple Classroom with the iPads. Now, there are a couple of things that you cannot do with Apple Classroom. We'll talk about what it is. And so one, you're not going to create your own classes. The classes are created by Tech Services. Really, it's set up by the group of iPads that you have. You have one iPad that's a teacher, and the other iPads are the student iPads. And so those are all set up for you as with the shared iPads for your students, or that you've got for your students. And so this one we've got is set up as training, but yours would be labeled for your class by Tech Services for you. So when we get in, there's a couple of things that we want to see right off of the bat. And so when we get in, we can see what our classes are, and really you're going to have just the one class for you. If you click the back arrow, you can also see classes and agendas, and we're going to stick to classes on this one. And there's another video that'll talk about agendas. When we go into our class, which for this one is a training class, you'd see all of my iPads that are currently assigned to my class. And so it'll tell you right away, and it takes it a moment for them to kind of come on or tell you where you're at, and it'll let you know that these iPads are not connected or not doing anything. And so I've got an iPad with me. When I turn this iPad on, it's going to it'll show where we're at, and so you can see that this iPad, so training one, I open it up and I'm on the iPad. So I'm going to click on the student app, and you guys don't see this, but just to kind of show you, I'm going to click on iExcel. And I can see now on my teacher iPad that I've got a student that's in iExcel. Now this is about as deep as you can go legally with the monitoring of the iPad. So there is a feature where built into Classroom to allow you to see what students are doing on their iPads, but we don't have that enabled because that's actually against our data privacy regulations in the state of Minnesota. So if you want to see what your students are doing on their iPads, you can see the app that they're in, but not actually monitor what they're doing on that app. So what you would need to do is good old-fashioned, looking over their shoulder and seeing what your students are doing. And so this iPad now, I've decided I'd go back to the home screen, so it kind of tells you where you're at or what's going on with it. Really across the top, or at the top, anything that's that orange is going to be your global settings that you can do class-wide. So all of those are going to be your global settings. And we'll go into more in depth with each of those. The file inbox is turned off. Again, that gets into that data privacy and management piece. You cannot share certain files or folders with the students of how to get it. Then you have also the individual iPads that are in your class that you would have for your students. And so you would want to work out your own session on who gets training iPad 1, training iPad 2, or which iPads you have. So you're going to work out your own system to assign that. So you won't have specific students of Susie, Johnny, Jimmy. You would just have these are the iPads, and you would have to create your own system to know who's got what. Across the top, you'll see there's these three dots. And one of the things that you can do with the three dots is you can change how you want to orient or work with your iPad. So right now I'm in a full screen mode. I can go to split screen mode, a tab on top, and really just changes the view of it. So if I wanted to see things like if I wanted to go to split screen mode and I turn it to orient my iPad sideways, I could open up another app if there was something I wanted to open up the fast testing, so then I can have my fast testing app open alongside with what I'm doing here. So I could certainly do something like that. And then the third window changes your view, where it kind of puts your app in the background, and then your classroom kind of, so you can monitor as kind of a top overlay on top of it, so I can see what my students are doing with their iPads on the top. And then the last one kind of, again, creates it as a bigger window or movable window to kind of see what we're doing with it with the iPad piece behind it, with the training piece. So we're going to go back to our full screen just for this one to kind of look at and see what our students are doing. The next thing that we've got for this, when we're in our classroom piece of it,
that we really want to look at, and there's other videos that'll go into each of the aspects of it, but really the last piece is when we get done, we want to make sure that we end our class. And so the way that we would end our class is we would go over to the three dots in the orange at the top right corner. And we always want to make sure that we end our class when we're done with our session. And this takes kind of the iPads out, gives you a real quick overview of what the app usage was, what the student did, what your students did, kind of where they were, any kind of work that they did or anything like that. So you have kind of a track of what it is. Now it doesn't save anywhere, it just gives you kind of a class summary. So we're gonna hit done, and that's gonna be it for kind of the overview of Apple Classroom.